So here's part 2 of the 4.9 day 1 notes. We are going to continue to be graphic quadratic inequalities. So this is our second example. We have y is less than or equal to 3x squared. Notice this is once again in standard form. So in order to graph this inequality in standard form, the very first thing is we got to figure out the vertex. And we do x equals opposite of b over 2a. Now notice we only have 3x squared, so that means our b value is going to be 0, and then our a here is 3. Now anything 0 divided by something, that's just going to give us 0. Now we're going to plug that back in, so we have 3 times 0 squared, and of course this just gives us 0. So we have 0, 0 as our vertex. Now the next part, we need to figure out our xy table here. Notice that 0, 0, since that is our vertex, can be in the middle. We pick two x values that are smaller, like -1 and -2, and two x values that are bigger. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and plug in 1 and 2. So now we're going to do 3 times 1 squared. Of course, that gives us 3, and then 3 times 2 squared. Make sure you do your PEMDAS. So you have to actually do 2 squared first, which gives us 4, then multiply by 3, which gives us 12. So be careful on that. So we get 3 and 12. Now before we plot these points, let's talk about if this is going to open up or down. This graph is going to open up because our a value is positive. So is that vertex going to be a minimum or maximum? Hopefully you said it was going to be a minimum because it's going to be the lowest point on our graph. Okay. Now notice that -2, 12, and 2, 12, that's going to go off the graph a little bit. You can still plot them if you want to, or just plot those 3 other points that we know are going to be on the graph. So I have 0, 0, and then 1, 3, and -1. And I'm just going to go a little bit above just to illustrate, hey, yeah, those are points there. Okay, now we need to decide, are we going to have a dashed or solid parabola? Notice that we have an equal bar underneath our inequality. So that means we're going to have a solid parabola. Remember, make sure this goes off the graph, your arrows. Make sure you make a U shape, okay? And make sure you do have your arrows there. Okay, our last thing we need to do is we need to shade. We got to figure out where to do that. So I'm going to pick a testing point that is inside the parabola. So notice here that 0, 0 is actually part of our parabola. So I cannot use that as my testing point. Now I can use any other points that is inside my parabola to see where I'm going to shade. I'm going to go ahead and use 0, 2. Okay, 0, 2. So that's like up here. Okay, so let's use that as my testing point. So now 0 is an x and 2 is the y value. So you plug this in correctly. Okay, so our inequality here is we have y, so that's 2 is less than or equal to 3 times 0 squared. So I have 2 is less than or equal to 0. Is this a true or false statement? Oh, it's false because 2 is actually bigger. So because it's false, we are going to actually shade away from the testing point. So in this case, because we are shading away from the testing point, we're going to shade on the outside of the parabola. Okay, because remember our 0, 2 was this point here. That was my 0, 2, and that didn't work. So that means I have to actually shade outside of the parabola. So everywhere that's outside, I shade. Okay. Okay, make sure you watch the last part of the video. That's just once again another example, but I would like you guys to go ahead and try that on your by yourself, okay? Make sure you do get this down. So remember, if I am going too fast, pause the video, get it all down so you have it, okay? So here's number 3. If you need to pause the video, get that down into your notes. I'm going to scroll back up, and then here's what we got as our answer. Okay, see you in the next video.